So we are in session, and the first order of business, first item on the agenda is an anticipated executive session. Is there a motion?
I'll move to find that premature public knowledge regarding a labor relations agreement with employees would clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage, and further move that we enter executive session to discuss a labor relations agreement with employees under Title I, Sections 313A1B of the Vermont statutes, and invite Fire Chief Aaron Collette and Town Manager Eric Wells to join.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are in executive session. Okay. So we are back from executive session. It is 7:01, and we will continue on with the normal order of things. So next on the agenda would be the minutes, and is there a motion?
I'd move we approve the minutes of September 17th, 2024 with any necessary modifications.
Is there a second?
Second.
Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. It's not a correction, but on the Burlington beer issue, I did get an email from somebody who thought that we were actually giving town money to a business, and they were appropriately concerned given what they thought. Anyway, if people hear such rumblings, please do what you can. So, hearing no corrections, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next, public comment. This would be a moment for anybody in the audience to get up and make a comment. It does not have to be on anything on the agenda, but it can be. But is there anybody in the audience that wishes to make a public comment? No? Seeing nobody. Eric, is there anybody online?
Nope, no one online.
Okay. Okay. So next, resolution for our former recording secretary. Eric, could you give an introduction to that?
Sure, absolutely. So I shared last meeting that our longtime recording secretary, Mary Ann Reardon, is stepping away after over 14 years of service, and she also provided that service in the late 80s and also spent some time on the select board. So the select board asked to have a resolution to honor her service. I chatted with Mary Ann. She was very thankful for this, and I prepared a resolution for your consideration this evening.
Okay. Any questions for Eric? If there are not, there is a proposed motion.
Do we want to read the resolution? Do you typically read them?
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't sure if I should do that before
I don't know.
it's approved. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think we
Okay.
should do it after we approve it.
Yeah, after
There
we
you go.
approve it.
Okay. I don't know. Terry's the authority. Yeah.
The dean of the select board.
So I move to approve the resolution honoring recording secretary Mary Ann Reardon as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and so the resolution is published, and I will read it. Resolution of the Williston Selectboard. Whereas Mary Ann Reardon provided recording secretary services to the Williston Selectboard to document meeting minutes in the late 1980s and again from 2010 to 2024, and whereas the role of recording secretary is a critical service to document the governance and history of the town and serves as the official record of the Select Board, and whereas Mary Ann provided an outstanding public service to the community of Williston throughout her tenure as recording secretary, carefully documenting the business conducted by the Select Board, and now, therefore, be it resolved, the Williston Select Board thanks and honors Mary Ann Reardon for her service to the community as recording secretary of the Select Board and recognizes her for a job well done. Adopted this first day of October, 2024.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Over the years, we've debated how much information we got in the minutes. We went from barely anything at all to extensive, and Mary Ann captured what we wanted very well.
Mm-hmm.
Not an easy job.
Nope. So we'll take a second while that's being passed around. Talk amongst yourselves. Dogs, daughters. So next, another resolution honoring the Williston Fire Department's 75th anniversary. Eric, if you could do a brief introduction to that as well.
Yeah, no, exciting milestone this fall. Started in the year 1949. What became our Williston Fire Department was founded as first a volunteer department, and the resolution captures the history. And we're honored this evening to have members of our current staff here, our deputy chief, and then longtime members of our department here as well for this moment. So Chief Collette is deployed with USAR helping in North Carolina this evening, so he's not able to be here, but great representation for our department, representing its history, and it's a great milestone to achieve 75 years of service to our community. So resolution is prepared for the select board to consider.
Great. Any questions for Eric? If not, there is a proposed motion.
I'll move to approve the resolution recognizing the 75th anniversary of Williston Fire as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion carries. So I will now read that. Resolution of the Williston Selectboard. Whereas in 1949, after a serious fire at the Williston Academy School, where the Armory stands today, Howard Lunderville and Roland Osborne sought to establish a fire department based in town, as it was apparent it was no longer viable for Williston to rely on other departments. And whereas in the fall of that year, the Williston Select Board accepted an offer from Mr. Lunderville and Mr. Osborne to form a fire department, and the Williston Young People's Association, later known as the Williston Volunteer Fire Department, was founded. And whereas, I'm going to pause for a second. I think we have other firefighters coming in. So,
I don't want to miss the whereas.
yeah, I know.
Good timing, guys.
Yeah, so folks just coming in, we've adopted the resolution honoring the select board, the fire department's anniversary, and I'm reading it now. You missed one of the whereases, but I'm gonna keep going. And whereas Adrian Fourier, Preston Charland, Ernest Gaudet, Eugene Hansen, Edward Roberts, and Oscar Staple were the additional charter members of the department. And whereas today the department has grown to provide a scope of service that includes emergency medical services and transport, career and volunteer staff, and a call volume of over 2,300 annually. And whereas the hundreds of members of the Williston Fire Department in its 75-year history have provided outstanding service to the community of Williston. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Williston Select Board sincerely thanks all members of the Williston Fire Department, past and present, for their service to the community and congratulates the department on achieving 75 years of service, adopted this first day of October 2024. So, yeah, actually, if we could probably have a round of applause. So that, yeah.
Actually, could we have introductions of our guests?
Yeah, could we do that? Could you folks introduce yourselves so we know who we're honoring?
Chief Morton. Start.
Ken Morton, formerly fire chief, from 82 until 2000.
You've been in this room before. Yeah, okay.
And it's awfully nice to be here, not discussing budgets, capital issues and such. It's kind of pleasure.
Welcome, Chief.
Gary Keefe, I started in 72, put in about 30 years.
Ginger Morton. I was a dispatcher for 27 years.
Tim Gary, I'm the deputy fire chief. I'm the new guy at just under 25 years.
Gentlemen, could you keep it up?
Joe Valentine, medic firefighter. Vincent Wickens, one of the call staff firefighter duties.
I'm Jeremy Herman, senior firefighter, paramedic, been a full-timer for 10 years, and I was on the call starter with the call staff 4 years prior to that. Jim Wells, firefighter, paramedic, working on year 5.
Nate Libby, probationary firefighter, almost a year.
Well, welcome and thank you. Thank you very, very much. It is a massively important service, and the town would not be nearly as safe without what you do. So, thank you. So,
I remember Howard Lunderville well. He was also the police chief, I believe.
Yes.
yeah.
He was everything. We almost named the town Lunderville instead of Williston.
I remember all the names you read off. Most of them I remember from years ago. I can't put a face to them all, but
We volunteer fire departments are so critically important. I mean, I grew up in Richmond, and the M&M store was on the corner, and it was Mose Levesque, and he was the fire chief, and the phone would ring at the store when there was a fire, and sometimes you'd be in there, and they'd pick up and go running off to the fire station and come back, and just, again, the critically important stuff. So,
Leaving you alone in the store?
what's that? No, but another time I will maybe talk about when I was in college and sleeping in my house in Richmond, and I was awakened to my father and a firefighter in my room at 5 o'clock in the morning. Being the last of 8 kids, sometimes I forgot about you. Anyway, but anyway, thank you very much. So.
I'm grateful for the new fire station we have out there. That's a beautiful fire station. Thank you, Chief Morton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was,
Chief Morton, I think you might not have given yourself credit for years of service. I think you said you stopped in 2000, but you stopped 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
COVID retired.
I just wanted to make sure that the full scope.
And Gary Keefe was the assistant fire chief from the town, first took over the fire department and was first municipal. And then after Gary was assistant chief, the local assistant chief. And we retired together.
And the department has an open house planned. Deputy chief just,
This October 12th,
October 12th.
10 to 1. So we'll do a combined fire prevention open house and our 75th anniversary celebration.
Pancakes?
It's good to see
Yeah.
the history, where the future and the present and the future of our fire department, and the history of our fire department. It's really wonderful. We are a very lucky town to have such great folks representing us and protecting us. So thank you all.
so we should probably move on to our next agenda item, sad as that is. Okay. So next on the agenda, the Green Mountain Transit update. And
Thank you all.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
good evening.
Evening.
We're also excited to see you all. We're also very lucky to have you all as well.
We have no resolution for you. Maybe next time. Maybe.
And so my name is Clayton Clark, and I am the general manager for Green Mountain Transit. And I have the privilege of being here tonight with my boss, Amy Brewer, who is Williston's primary commissioner on the GMT Board of Commissioners. So good for Williston and having leading the GMT board at this critical time in our history. And that's a history that Williston has provided a lot of leadership for GMT with Chapin Kaner previously serving as our primary and now as alternate. And so Williston has really contributed immensely to GMT's leadership over the years. When I talked to you before, the last time, I was mentioning a horrible fiscal cliff that was coming. I regret that that cliff is closer. And because it's closer, that has spurred us to do some action. And I'm going to go over what has happened since I last talked with you, and then stop talking at you, and then we can have a conversation. So the cliff is closer. I will say we do have a little bit of positive news that because of some of the work that we were able to do with our partner VTrans, we were able to identify some additional federal dollars so that our funding gap in fiscal year 26 right now is around $2 million. The last time I came to talk to you, it was around $3 million. So we have seen some progress that I'm happy with. But knowing that we still have that funding gap, the GMT Board of Commissioners asked our staff in July to develop a plan that could reduce up to $3 million worth of costs through service reductions. And so we received this guidance from them in July, and then we began talking with our municipalities to get input for our plan, and that included some survey work, which I believe that several of you had participated in, so thank you for doing that. And the surveys were really focused on answering the basic questions about transit values. And, what is it that folks most wanted to retain? What is it that, where they wanted us to have our focus as we thought about this plan? And what we learned very consistently from our municipal partners is that there was a desire for us to focus on local service over commuter service. And for local service, what we're really talking about is the number 10, the number 1, our buses that are operating within Chittenden County. For commuter service, what we're talking about there is more of the link service that connects Montpelier and St. Albans, as well as the Heinsberg and Jeffersonville commuters and the Milton commuter. We heard that there was a preference for retaining weekday service over weekend service, and that we heard from folks that where transit is moving the most folks, that they really wanted us to leave it alone and to continue to have high frequency there. And so that instead of taking the approach where all of the transit would be somewhat diminished, we wanted to keep, people wanted us to keep transit working well where it was working well, and then focus reductions where we were not moving a lot of people. So with that guidance, our staff prepared a plan that was released on August 27th. And the thing about Green Mountain Transit as a municipality is that anytime we contemplate raising fares or service reductions, we have a public meeting process. And so, that public meeting process means that much of our work in thinking about a service reduction plan is going to be happening in the public forum. And so that means that we've had 5 public meetings to date, to include one that was in Williston. And we're always looking for new meeting spaces, and we actually had it at the Majestic Theater. I will say it was a little odd to talk about service reductions with all the birthday decorations, but it made it a little more festive for a depressing topic. And so we've had those 5 public meetings. We have 3 more that are scheduled in the coming weeks, and so we've been going through this plan, taking the feedback from the community, taking feedback that we're also getting from municipalities, which I suspect you may provide us with feedback tonight that we will want to consider. As we work towards taking a draft plan and moving it into our final plans. And so there's 3 phases to the reductions that we're looking at. The first of which could happen as early as November or December of this year. That portion of the plan would really focus on the Jeffersonville commuter. Right now, that is our costliest per rider service. That it cost us about $63 to move a rider on that route, and you know, when you consider that we're collecting a $2 fare, you know, just that's not great, you know, economics for public transit. And so in November, December, we potentially could eliminate the Jeffersonville commuter. We're also looking at some reductions in Saturday service. Most of the reductions are going to be looking at evenings and along lines, but there is the potential that we would end service on Saturdays for the number 10. And so the number 10 that connects Essex Experience, the Sand Hill area of the town of Essex, to Walmart, has been one of our routes that V-Trans has identified to us for several years as being underperforming, which basically just means that the cost per person that we're moving is you know, not as economically efficient. And so I want to make sure that you all know that there's the potential that there could be reductions that would impact Williston as soon as this November or December. The next phase is going to be in February, and in February that will focus primarily on the link and commuter service. There's no changes there that we imagine would impact Williston, other than there will likely be a decreased number of stops at the Williston Park and Ride for the link service coming in. We anticipate that some of those link routes between Montpelier and Burlington will be reduced. Our link service has really not rebounded from the pandemic. Our local services on many routes are at pandemic levels, and for a few routes are even higher. But our commuter service is still way down 50% or lower than it was before. And so that's why we feel that we're going to need to adjust that to the new reality. We believe that's because of the new work trends and having people working from home, and so that there's just a lot less folks who are commuting back and forth between Montpelier and Burlington. The third phase would happen next June, and that is where the bulk of the local cuts would have. And I regret that there's the potential that we could have 3 of our routes eliminated in its entirety. That would be the number 8, which is a city loop that goes between the old north end of Burlington and the downtown. The number 10, which I had previously mentioned, and the number 11, which connects downtown to the airport. And so if we had to go through a full $3 million worth of reductions, you know, all 3 of those services would be lost. Our hope is that projections will continue to hold. We'll be able to get perhaps some additional revenue, and that we will be able to limit these reductions. But it's still going to be very much a fluid process moving forward. What I can expect when it comes to decision-making from the Board of Commissioners is that we're going to want to make a decision about our November or December reductions at their next meeting, which would be on October 15th. And they met this morning. They've been meeting every 2 weeks during this time, just to go through all the public comment, have the discussions that are necessary, and so we hope to have that decision then, so that there would be time to relay to the public about potential changes. We will probably have the decisions for the February and March made in November. And I think that when it comes to the June decisions, that we may, by the time November comes around, more have an outline of what we're working on, but I don't think that we'll have a final plan for that until potentially as late as January. When we do that plan in January, what we expect to have is to build it sort of as a cascading waterfall. so that when we go to the legislature and talk to them about what potential service reductions would look like, if they were to increase our overall funding, what we would do is restore the service in a particular order, and retain as much service as we could with the funding provided. And lastly, I want to let you all know that about some potential ADA changes. And so for one of the things that we're also doing public meetings on is increasing the ADA fare from $3 to $4. And that's something that we had proposed, making the ADA fare $4 when we returned to fares. We received feedback from SSTA that provides that service, that they thought that that would be too much to go from $0 to $4, right off the bat. So we agreed to go to $3 to start. We would like to raise that to $4, and we believe that that will also help provide some cost relief to us for the ADA service, that we all then share those costs with you all. The other thing that I want to be clear on is that if the number 10 does end up going away entirely, that would impact ADA service along that line. That would mostly impact the town of Essex, but I think that there may be the possibility that there would be some pockets of Williston that right now receive that ADA service that may not have it in the future. And so folks who live in that area would need to use alternative programs like the Older Persons and Disabled Persons Transportation Program instead of the ADA service.
I'm sorry, I got confused on the ADA service. I was assuming you were talking about the SSTA, maybe door-to-door van
Yes,
service?
exactly.
So how would the number 10 impact that?
So the ADA service is required if you are within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route. And so if you're beyond that 3/4 of a mile, other programs would kick in, like the O&D program. And so I think that there's a small portion of Williston close to the Essex border that may be more than 3/4 of a mile from a public line. And so I think that you may have a handful of folks that would no longer be eligible for that ADA service. Yeah. And so this is where we're at right now when it comes to service reductions, and I'd really like to turn it over to you all to respond to your questions, hear from you all what's important to you, and then try to take that and incorporate it into our plans as much as possible.
Questions?
Sounds like the commuter fares, lines have been very profitable. How long have you been doing commuter runs?
So we started the commuter runs, I believe, in the late 2000s, and I can tell you that before the pandemic, there were times when the Link service was, standing room only, and it was a real success. And I think that the problem that we're having now is not so much that it's not a success. It's just that we built those schedules based on a much higher capacity level than that we currently have. And so I think that what we'll see is that route will still be running. It'll just be less frequent, and it'll be more representative of the number of folks who are currently using it.
Just a business decision.
Essentially what it's boiling down to, and this is something that I can tell you GMT is not alone. Nationally, urban transit agencies are facing similar challenges. In fact, if you listen to Marketplace on Vermont Public, I had the privilege of, I never thought I'd be interviewed by Marketplace, but they decided to pick GMT to kind of represent the struggles of the transit industry, and so they just did a story on that. So that on the local, or not the local, I'm sorry, the opposite, on the national level, urban agencies are really struggling. And then locally here in Vermont, last session, we were the only transit agency that, had the fiscal cliff, close enough to really be like, hey, it's close, we need to do something. And now the other transit agencies, the rural transit agencies, are starting to come into a similar thing. And so I think that what you're going to find is that perhaps last year when we went to the legislature and talked to folks, they would just see this as, hey, this is just a GMT problem, this is just an urban problem. And I think that what we're going to be expressing, when I say we, I mean the other providers, is that this is actually a statewide problem at this point, and hopefully that will spur some more action.
Thank you. You mentioned a $2 fare to Jeffersonville versus a $63 cost. Has that fare ever been profitable?
I can tell you for that service, public transit is pretty much never profitable. Even our most efficient service is going to be in the $6 range for the $2 fare, and so there, you'll have a third of the cost paid by the fare, but the reality is that taxpayer funds are largely paying for public transit all over the country. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
I value the connection to the Taps Corner area, because I think there are people who could conceivably live there without a car, or one car instead of two, and so I appreciate keeping that robust enough so people don't feel like they have to fall back and get another car.
Absolutely. One of the things that we're hearing is that is the climate, concerns, and so that are we going to be moving backwards, where instead of having a system where you can be car free or be just one car for a family, are we going to be forcing people back into car ownership? That is definitely something that we've heard in the public meetings, where people have said, I bought my house or I got this apartment on this location because it was on the bus route, and and they've told us that they're going to have to move. And the thing that really worries me is that some of the folks who've told us that they have to move, they're saying, if I have to move, why am I staying in Vermont? And workforce issues are something GMT is struggling with, along with everybody else.
Other questions or comments?
Okay. So we'll certainly keep you informed as things proceed. At some point in time, I suspect that I will be back here to talk to you about a special assessment. One of the things that we heard from the legislature is that they were really disappointed that we didn't ask our municipalities to provide additional funds. We tried to explain that you all already collect $3.9 million in funds, which is actually about $1.3 million more than VTrans provides us in state funds. And so I'm going to try to argue that, so many times you have match of state funds. Well, how about you match our municipal funds? And hopefully that will be a compelling argument, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Okay.
So actually, before you go, is there anybody online that is participating remotely?
A couple people listening, I'll just make sure they don't have any questions.
Some people online are not looking at a big black screen that says Town of Williston.
Legitimate question.
Before I leave, I just wanted to be clear that I'm always here. You can always reach out to me with comments, questions, anything that you ask that I don't know, which is quite a lot. I can find the answer because the staff at GMT is really quite amazing. And I'll also share that this is not, the board does not take any of this lightly. We really are all there because we believe transit helps so many and our future. And want to make sure that we're securing that. And so we are doing the best that we absolutely can. And what I shared in our public meeting, and I'll share it with you all, is that we're trying to uncover, go with a no stone unturned approach, and invite you that if you have ideas or a stone that needs turning, please feel welcome to do that, and we'll take all the help we can possibly get. We don't want to do this at all.
Thank you.
And hearing Amy mention the no stone unturned, I want to brag a little bit that the last, not the meeting this morning, but 2 weeks ago, the Board of Commissioners approved articles of incorporation and bylaws for us to create an affiliated nonprofit that would allow us to do direct fundraising, but probably more importantly for the near future, would allow us to apply for grants that are eligible only for nonprofit organizations. Yeah.
So Eric, is there anybody?
No questions.
Okay,
from all.
great. Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you both.
Thank you both.
So, community fund project updates.
Yeah, so this evening is continuing the board's review of the top-ranked projects. We have our conservation planner, Andrew Plum, here to join us to chat about committees he staffs, Conservation Commission and Catamount Community Forest Committee, and their kind of revised thoughts and recommendations for your consideration. We were going to work to have talk about public safety impact fee and fire department strategic plan, but we're going to hold on that until the chief is back and back in town.
Okay, great. So,
I don't know if I'm starting.
yeah, come on.
Thank you.
So,
Is it totally out of line to rearrange so that we can send our firefighter? I assume they're sticking around for item 11. Is it,
sure.
should we do that out of
Yeah.
order so that
Eric,
we
is
could
that
send them back to
okay
work?
if I put you back on the bench? Okay. Well, I realized actually I was going to cover this stuff before Green Mountain Transit, and I blew right past my note. So
That's okay.
I apologize. And now I'm making you leave again. So,
That's okay.
Okay.
all right.
Give us 2 minutes.
We have
Yep.
such compelling
So, yeah, actually.
stories here, you want to stay anyhow.
So, yeah, let's go to item 11, collective bargaining agreement. Eric, if you could do an intro on that as well.
Yep. Yep. So the board's for consideration this evening is a new collective bargaining agreement with the IAFF Local 4611. A tentative agreement's been reached on a new contract retroactive to July 1st of 2023. The membership ratified the contract earlier this week. This evening, the select board can consider action to approve the new contract. Short summary of the items from the new contract. It's a 3-year contract through June 30th of 2026. As cost of living and step increases with unchanged language from the prior contract. There's an increase of compensation for holding the advanced EMT and paramedic level certifications, increase of 3% for the AEMT and 2.5% for the paramedic. There's adjustments to the wage scale by rank each year of the contract, working to retain a competitive wage in the marketplace among career departments. On the operations side of the contract, there's some adjustments for the order in for shifts, moving into 2 separate 12-hour tours to fill. There's an increase in the extra duty rate for working outside events. It's charged to an event organizer who is hiring the staff. Incorporation of a 2022 MOU for a minimum staffing of 5 per shift. And I just want to thank the IAFF Local 4611, its executive board and membership for the extensive work in arriving at this tentative agreement this evening. So, any questions from me?
You sound so even, Eric, and I know underneath you are much happier than you're.
Questions from the board? Comments? Okay. My understanding is the union already approved the contract, right? So, okay. So that being said, if there are no questions, there is a proposed motion.
Move to approve a new collective bargaining agreement with IAFF Local 4611 and authorize the town manager to sign on the town's behalf.
Is there a second?
Second?
Is there further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion carries. The agreement is ratified. So,
Another round of applause. And I do want to thank Eric. That was a lot of work on your part and the
Yeah,
staff, Shirley and everybody else. It was a lot of work on both sides to get that done.
yeah. I know it was a
Move
long
forward
haul.
as a town, as a team.
Well, thank you all. As we said before, we are a very lucky town to have you all serving our community. So we look forward to many more years with you all.
Yeah, I'll get a copy to sign the next day or so. So we'll get that all figured out.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Jean. Okay, so
No,
come
try
on
it
back
again.
up.
Andrew, is this your first time presenting before us?
It is.
Well, welcome.
It's a very intimidating, nerve-wracking thing to do. So,
Well, he's
We're-
used to me.
yeah. Oh, no.
See how
So
you
so he's all
compare
warmed
to
up.
He's well warmed up.
All right, okay.
So, we have both the proposals from the Catamount Community Forest Management Committee and the Conservation Commission. I have the Catamount on top, so I'll start there. So the committee discussion was basically about reducing this list down to top priorities. The two top priorities listed are the trail improvement projects and invasive treatment. Trail improvement projects, you will become more familiar with in the coming weeks, as Catamount has been working on the Family Center has been working on a comprehensive trail plan to upgrade the trails and do an Act 250 permit for many of those updates. And so the request from the committee is for funding that will help make those improvements a reality. The request is for $35,000 to support those improvements. The thought is that that initial funding will be awaited to get additional funding for those improvements. For invasive treatment, this goes with another item we are discussing tonight, which is a invasive treatment plan. Invasive treatment at Catamount is something that both volunteers and the committee itself, through contracting professionals, is a major goal. And so the dollar amount there is for continued treatment. The $15,000 would be for the next 3 years, $5,000 a year, which is consistent with that proposed plan, which we'll discuss later. Happy to answer any other questions, and I actually should mention too, I'll mention this with the Conservation Commission's proposal, but the Forest Committee was very supportive of a request for trail counters, and there was interest in using that at Catamount as well. Part of a larger initiative to understand trail use in town, and yeah, so they were supportive. So thank you.
This request amount, this 50,000, I feel like this is significantly less, right, than the initial kind of more general request that Catamount made. Is that?
Yeah, I want to say that was in the neighborhood of maybe $100,000.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more projects. I know some of the numbers weren't quite as ironed out at that point about a year ago or so.
So this is really the top priority, is the bottom line. Okay, I appreciate very much the work, and kind of I know it's, I'm sure for the committee members, like choosing your favorite child, which projects to go forward with. So I appreciate that they've done that for us.
I think Danielle was going to be online. I don't know if she wanted to say anything or calling out my chair.
I forgot that you're on.
Danielle, did you have anything you wanted to say? Just raise your hand or let me know in the chat. I see you're online. Yep, the hand is raised. Yeah, I'll connect you, Danielle, just a moment.
Danielle?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I really don't have much to say. I think Andrew did a great job, but we were just really looking forward to having your support for either or both of these projects going forward. Thank you.
There was a hesitancy to say that this was kind of, the 35,000 was any kind of matching, because we didn't want to promise matching if that's not exactly what leveraging turns out to look like, but it was intended to be a part of a bigger project that, as always, if the town could come up with some money, more money follows. So that was sort of the intent.
Great. So we'll move to the Conservation Commission's requests.
Yep.
Similar approach, that trying to reduce it down to the key requests. And so, as I mentioned before, the initiative to document use of town land and trails. The request is for trail counters. These would be used at individual parks and
So
could be through.
what is a trail counter?
It's sort of like a game camera. It looks similar, and basically you walk past it and it counts you passing it. And talking with mostly Kim Coleman, who's a member of the Conservation Commission. She is a professor at UVM, if you know her, and she does this sort of work for UVM, and it is a very effective way to count use of trails, but it isn't comprehensive. And so something that she does is she uses Strava data. You might be familiar with Strava as a app that people.
Oh, yeah.
They track their activities, and so you can, if you're a municipality, you can request it. There's also, she does projects with literally having people out at trailheads counting, and so you combine those and you get better data. And so ultimately this is helping to make decisions about where to allocate resources on town trails, and so looking at capital improvements, possibly where to improve trail systems or expand trail systems in existing parks. This would be a decision-making tool for that. The repair of the Allenbrook Nature Trail Bridge was an item that the Conservation Commission thought was a high priority as well. That $55,000 amount is what was approximately quoted. The sort of the high-end number of what I received from both the design work and the contract to actually do the improvements, basically giving some wiggle room depending on any changes. And the final item there is a feasibility study for future trail bridge there, and really what that comes from is a conversation among the Conservation Commission of concern over flood resiliency in that area, and some fear that will be a continued problem that the town will have is in repairing that bridge. And so possibly looking at a plan for replacement, replacing it with a piece of infrastructure that is more resilient, maybe impacts the stream bed itself, or is not in the stream bed itself, or possibly relocating it somewhere else along that stretch. And so, yeah, thank you.
If those funds were approved, how quickly would that start?
That's a good question. The discussion was about having those funds hopefully be used when we hire a design team for the fix that's above it, and so possibly looking at design work for the actual repair, which is something we've explored a little bit more in depth, and also hiring that team while they're out there to do a larger study. So really, if we're talking about concrete timelines based on availability of contractors, I think the hope would be in the next calendar year, concurrent with that their hope for when the repair will happen.
Getting questions from neighbors and folks about that bridge. It's, I think it's a noticeable problem. So I think people are noticing it, and so.
We're asking.
Yeah.
To get fixed.
Yeah.
That's certainly my experience too. I've received many calls. I see people out when I'm on trail, and that's what they ask about.
Yep.
I'm sorry, which bridge is that we're talking about? Where is it located?
The bridge by the Little League field.
The Little League field?
That goes into the woods. What's the name of it?
It's the Allenbrook Nature Trail.
Allenbrook.
If you go out past Central School in the Village Community Park, it crosses the Allenbrook and goes towards, well, eventually like Keystone States, Wildflower Circle. There's a trail system back there.
Yeah. It's nice.
Can't get to it if there's no bridge.
How much would a bridge cost?
A real bridge, like a serious bridge? Well, bridge costs $55,000, that's what.
That's to study it.
No, the
first
bridge
one
is on here too. The bridge is also on there.
This
Different
was
line,
the
55.
bridge, and this was the design for a more
Right.
resilient one, because we've already fixed
Yeah.
it twice, since I've been on the select board.
Other questions or comments? Okay. Great. Thanks.
I can,
Thank
I can round out this discussion, Ted. We've essentially gone through every project except the fire department and impact fee. I think we'll have that on your next agenda. So I guess the guidance I'm looking for is where do you want to go for next steps? And you'll have that discussion, but how soon do you want to discuss allocating some dollars and cents towards the project? That would, I think, be the next step for you at this point.
I mean, the first thing that would be helpful to me was I was trying to just sketch it out, but like, where have all these new, with these new numbers, where are we? How close are we to how much money we have? That would be the first thing for me then.
Yeah, I can kind of combine all this into a new document. I can update the document, maybe put a new spreadsheet together as well, and have it all in front of you in one sheet.
Yeah, I tried to just update, you know, but it got a little messy, so.
Yeah, no, that would be great. The thing, I mean, I keep thinking, we're entering budget season, and not that, you know, allocating some of this money would not necessarily impact next year's budget, because some of these items are outside of what might normally be within our budget, but I do feel like, you know, I've said it before, I think, you know, we've been sitting on this for a while. I think I would like to see us spend it sooner rather than later, or not just spend it, but utilize it and make a difference in the lives of folks in our town. And so I would encourage us to do it before the end of the calendar year, ideally.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, I think some things are, I mean, if we can't fix the Allenbrook, if we can't fit the bridge
Right.
into the ARPA money, we're gonna have to put it in the budget, so.
Right.
Right.
so,
Yeah.
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 So we should put this as an agenda item on the next meeting? So
Yeah.
can you get that stuff done by then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've also got the Industrial Avenue footbridge and sewer
Right.
pipe.
Well, and that's one of the items on our, yeah.
That one on the list, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Entropy.
Yeah.
Entropy.
Bridges falling down?
Yeah, everything's falling. So, okay. Well, okay, so we set with this? All
Yep.
right. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah,
Thank you.
for your,
Andrew will stick around for the next two items.
okay.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm off that.
Hillhawks?
Nope.
The vast agreement.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right, Williston Hillhawks Fast Agreement.
If you want to give an overview.
I would speak to this. This is, you are probably familiar, this happens yearly.
Yes.
The only proposed change for this year is requested to extend it for 2 years. That was something that I had discussed with Vast, and be interested if you have any feedback on that, but that was the only proposed change.
We haven't had any issues with this as long as I've been here. It's been a good working relationship to allow this land use. And
I should mention too that the Public Works Director and Conservation Commission were both asked to comment, and neither had comments and were supportive of it. So.
And it keeps our town finance manager happy,
I was
so.
gonna
Any questions on this?
No, my question was anything different from last time we approved it, and I got that answered.
So just the 2 years then is the only change?
It's been the same forever.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, since I've been here, it's always, yeah.
I think winter's been canceled.
Yeah,
Uh.
it's getting that way.
Everybody keeps saying that, we're gonna get slammed, I can tell.
Let's keep saying it then.
So, if there are no questions, there is a proposed motion.
Move to approve the use of public land by the Williston Hillhawks and the Vermont Association of Snow Travelers, and to authorize the town manager to sign the agreement for fiscal years 2025 and 2026.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Okay. So, invasive management forest stewardship fund.
Yes. So this is a request to use stewardship funds to create an invasive management plan. It's a multi-year phased approach to treating invasives out at the Catamount Community Forest. This would be to guide both professional and volunteer treatment of invasives out at the forest. The $3,000 is for that initial plan, and then the proposal from the former county forester, Ethan Tapper, was to spend approximately $50,000 over the next 10 years, about $5,000 a year, to continue treating those invasives. Both this and his request go into more detail about that, but I'm happy to answer any more questions that you may have.
Questions?
This request is just to spend $3,000 of the stewardship fund.
That is correct.
So it's not new money or anything, it's already there, we're just asking permission to use it.
Yes, and the stewardship fund did come, $20,000 of it did come from the Trust of Public Land, and then almost $19,000 was added to it from the forest management project that occurred at Catamount. And so yeah, that the forest management project is offsetting that, which is notable.
So there's approximately $40,000 in the stewardship fund right now?
Close to it, yes.
Okay. And, I mean, it's the money they've raised from the forest is going to protect the forest. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Pretty controversial.
Yeah.
Any other?
Cases have become a real problem on my farm. I see more and more all the time.
It's crazy, a lot of work.
Yep.
On a motion.
Yeah. Yes.
Move to allocate $3,000 from the Catamount Community Forest Stewardship Fund to create an invasive plants management plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Hope you win.
Thank you.
Well, but
Andrew, your first.
I know.
And 2 for 2, just like that.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Well, welcome to the town.
They're gonna send you to all of them now.
Yeah, we give Belinda a much harder time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
So we've already covered the collective bargaining agreement, so that actually brings us very early to the manager's report.
We don't have to wait 46 minutes, do we?
No.
I can read the phone book for 46 minutes. Fill some time. I guess what they used to do in Congress, filibuster, just read the phone book. A few things I'll highlight this evening. As mentioned, the Industrial Avenue pedestrian bridge, an update from Public Works Director Bruce Hoare. Our overall project estimate's $900,000, with $690,000 for the pedestrian bridge and about $210,000 for the sewer main bridge, which is underneath the pedestrian bridge. Should the board want to move forward with each component of this, we would advocate to utilize the sewer fund net position towards the sewer bridge rather, and then use the community projects fund towards the pedestrian bridge. This came back from our structural engineer who's taken a look at this to give us a preliminary estimate. I anticipate, the timing with this, the pedestrian bridge itself we would order, and the lead time for that is about 6 months. Once you order the bridge to get delivered, then we'd have someone install it. The abutments are still good, and it's kind of replacing one with the other and working with the sewer line as well. I anticipate utilizing an emergency purchase condition for this. There's, given it's a piece of infrastructure and we have long lead times to secure contractors. And talking with one engineer, if we were to have engineers prepare bid documents for this, they wouldn't be able to prepare those documents till probably the end of the calendar year at the earliest. And looking at the personnel policy, I anticipate I'll consult with Trill a little bit more, but we can, I feel this would meet the criteria for an emergency purchase if the funds are allocated. But just so the board's aware of some of the timings around this and those other challenges with professional services right now.
I mean, every time I drive down Industrial, I don't know how trucks from managing that without having accidents. So, I mean, I really do think this is an emergency to get that fixed.
It's scary at times, coming across, when a truck is coming at you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I experienced that last week, driving a loaner car in a truck. But I would say, should the board want to allocate these funds maybe as early as even your next meeting, we could proceed with getting the contracts in place and that bridge ordered and a springtime replacement plan once it arrives.
Yeah,
I feel that's important.
yeah, I think it definitely speaks to us doing that next meeting, so, yeah.
So let's do that.
Yeah. Do you have any further questions for Bruce on that? Would you like him to come to your next meeting at all?
No.
Okay.
He's always welcome.
Yeah.
I know he loves it, so I don't want to discourage it.
I'll let him
every
know.
time he comes, he's got bad news.
Well, if we could tell him, like, look, here, I think it might feel good for him.
Next, you had a request from the public asking consideration for an F-35 resolution similar that was passed by the city of Burlington and Winooski. I'm not sure if South Burlington has considered action on that or not yet. The board asked for some more data from the noise monitoring station. This is available on their website. Fortunately, the monitor itself has been down since May. I've reached out to the airport for an update on that. I haven't received feedback yet. But what I did is you can pull this data and it tracks every single event that flies over that noise monitor. So each month has, it's 27,000, 30,000 events. It doesn't correlate the aircraft, so it's, I think you can infer maybe what types of aircraft based on the decibel level with some of these, but what I tried to do is I pulled up each spreadsheet, I made them a table, and I sorted them by decibel level, and then I looked at the higher decibels to see how many were in that threshold per month with that recorded entries per month from January, and I think there's an error with their March spreadsheet, it was also the May spreadsheet, so it gives you a snapshot for earlier this year. I can get more data, we can have someone from the airport come to discuss it more if you have more questions. But I know that your consideration is whether you want to consider this resolution on a future agenda. So look for your feedback. Do you want more information on the data? Any additional questions you have that I can assist with? Thoughts?
Personally, I think, I know that this is a very contentious issue for a lot of folks in our community. And I would like to hear from, have the opportunity for people from our community to have their voice kind of more publicly heard about this issue before we would consider any type of decision.
I guess my only hesitancy is that we have a lot on our plate and this is not on our work plan. And it could consume at least a whole evening, if not two, to end up sending a letter asking the delegation to ask the Air Force. And I've heard from a couple people or people who reached out to all of us, and I know it is a health issue for people and it's really important to people. I'm a little concerned because we have a lot on our plate and I'm not sure that this should bump that, at least not during budget season.
I agree with Jean. We have a lot on our plate. We got a lot going on. Asking, personally, I stop what I'm doing multiple times a day to watch the planes fly over. I think, we got a lot on our plate.
It's a difficult topic for sure, because you're going to hear from both sides on this issue. We've already heard this for years on both sides of the issue. To send something like this, I think I don't know that we can do something with all of the 25 or 30 whereases that are in here. I'm not sure that, I would agree with all of them. I think one of the resolutions that is proposed says that this should not impact the fiscal situation in Chittenden County. I would think that would be true if the Air Force is going to make any kind of decision that all of Chittenden County and all of the state of Vermont, for that matter, benefits from the airport being there. And right now the F-35s being there. The runways now, have been for years funded by the federal government so that 747s can land in Burlington, and sometimes they have. So, I was really impressed with the airport noise monitoring data that you presented here on this one pager. And 17 events with levels exceeding 100 decibels, which I would have predicted that would be more than that, because I can sit having coffee at 9:15, and I live a mile off the western side of the runway, and hopefully the phone doesn't ring because, well, it's going to be by answering machine anyway because they're all nuisance calls. But if a call was important, I wouldn't be able to hear it even with my hearing aids for 2 minutes, maybe another 2 minutes in the afternoon. So.
Well, Terry, that actually brings up a good point. Was I was reading all the whereases and I was like, I think their intent is saying that the Air Force is saying that they can replace it with a less noisy but equally important mission. And to me, I would need to have a lot more information about the assumptions behind some of those whereases before I would take it whole cloth. And that again is going to be a lot of time and effort that I'm not sure that this body has time to do.
I'm torn. As a matter of democracy, I think we should give it a space on the agenda. But frankly, this is one of the issues that I always have with this kind of thing is that it would be a resolution asking the congressional delegation to ask the Air Force to consider doing something. And that's not the most powerful tea I've ever seen in my life. I don't mean to be cavalier about this, but it's possible in Vermont to make actual contact and speak with, Congresswoman Balint and our senators if you try hard enough. And even if you can't get through to them, you'll get through to somebody. I mean, there's not a lot of people in our state compared to other people who have 2 U.S. senators. It's not California. So, I mean, I don't know what the town of Williston Selectboard putting this out is going to do that people wouldn't be able to do for themselves. But that being said, I don't want to burden the agenda, but I do think that maybe we should have some kind of forum. And again, not a full night at all, but maybe it would be something after budget season, maybe when we've got the budget settled and it's off to the printer. So would that be February, March? And again, maybe that would be an hour and a half agenda item where people would come in. And again, I say this again, I don't know what I would do as chair, assuming, well, I guess I still would be chair in February.
Squeeze it in under the wire.
Yeah. But one of the issues that I always have with meetings like this is that, Terry, you had a phrase, I think you were quoting another legislator saying, well, everything's been said, but not everybody has said it. And that happens a lot. And I understand, people want to feel like they were heard. But it's also, you get 9, 10, 15 people saying the same thing. And I don't know that that's an effective use of our time. So I think I would be in favor of having this on the agenda in February or March, but not as a major, it's our only thing on the agenda, and we're gonna have, 2 hours for one side, and then the Air Force is gonna come in or something, maybe just a full hour at some point in February or March.
I'm open to that idea if it's important to folks. The thing is that this resolution is entirely based on asking the Air Force to give us a different mission.
Yeah.
So it's not yes F-35s or no F-35s. It's like give us another mission to take the place of the F-35.
If there is one available, yeah.
Right, and so, yes, at least February, I would probably be interested, and I will not have time until February, but maybe talking to the folks who wrote this, so they can convince me that the whereases are valid.
I wanted to, I would not want to adopt that resolution anyway, because there are too many whereases. And it's like, at that point, it is, it's a statement more than an effective, okay, here, Congresswoman Balint, Bernie Sanders, Peter Welch, here, we put this forward to you for your consideration. I mean, that's, I don't think we need to write a book on it. If we were gonna adopt something like this, and again, I'm not saying that I would be in favor of that, but if that did pass this board, I wouldn't want it to be, 3 pages of stuff. I think the point can be made with, 3 paragraphs.
Yes, I would just like to validate yes, the Air Force has a ready new mission that they could consider for us. If that's
but
not the case, it's a different.
You just said that with 2 sentences.
There's, if I may, there, with it sounds like having an arena for the community to have a dialogue about this. I'm hearing that value from the board right now, and there could be another approach too, with kind of having a forum where we invite some partners, leadership at the Air Force, maybe at the airport, and it's more of a dialogue with the community, with those officials, to hear their. I'm sure they can't answer every question with some things, but that could be an option as well if the board want to think about something like that.
Yeah, I do like that idea. You have like not a panel discussion, but more of a forum kind of discussion that we would be observing, listening to, rather than us trying to have people come up here, sit at the microphone and tell us what they think.
It's not a bad idea.
And to maybe also invite some of the folks, the authors from, yeah.
Let's consider that and circle back around to it.
Yeah.
As to what structure our meeting or forum would take. So.
I can reach out to the Air Guard. I know they have some high-ranking folks that do that type of public outreach component, so I can see if they'd be interested in that, knowing it's been a thing raised by residents here with questions about the mission and the logistics, and see if they'd be
But we're still thinking February, right? After the budget.
Yeah, I think that's a good compromise, yep.
I'll reach out and see if that's an option. I can update you at your next meeting.
Great idea.
Is it gonna be the same people going over this again, or is it gonna be new people coming in and talking about it?
We'll find out. I don't know. It's only one way to find out.
Everybody will be here before you know it. After a big snowstorm.
So,
Probably the same day.
so Eric, other stuff?
Yeah, the next one, a follow-up from discussion last meeting with the request for a gas powered leaf blower restriction. The Energy Committee took it up at their last meeting, and they provided a memo that I included with your agenda packet on their discussion from their meeting. The overall summary is that committee felt that it didn't necessarily fall under their purview, kind of providing their comments for the select board, like for the board's feedback. If you would like to continue it at a different committee, if the board would like to take it up further at this level, or if you'd like this to sit.
I'm really impressed that the Energy Committee took it up and discussed it and drafted a memo as quickly as they did. I would like to applaud them on that, by the way. I feel like we have committees and we trust our committees and their recommendations for a reason. And I don't know if there's another committee that anybody else feels like they would look at it, but
We don't have a noise committee.
yeah.
No, it would likely fall under kind of an ordinance discussion at that point, and just rereading their memo here. Yeah, they were kind of split on it, but felt, with their other work plan as well, they weren't necessarily seeing this as something for them to take up in the short term, either trying to weigh a number of these factors.
This is just a dumb question, and I should probably know the answer to, but is there a path for citizen, wanting to get something on a vote, a town vote? I mean, is there even a path, like a petition or anything like that?
when it comes to a town ordinance, I believe the process would be to propose an ordinance or amendment to an ordinance, and you would need a 5% of registered voters' signature to have it on the ballot if it was such an ordinance item that would qualify for that.
So
At that point.
more of a citizen-led initiative.
I think we would need to hear from a lawn care service before we made any decisions as well, you know, hear from them, because they're the ones that are doing a lot of this.
Yeah.
Is this something that's even feasible?
Well, it would have to be feasible if
Yes.
we said it, you know, was
They say that
an
Burlington's
ordinance
already-
within the town.
They say Burlington's already banned them, so
Yeah.
I'm sure they know how to do this. They're just
Yeah.
expensive.
But Burlington has 10th-acre lots, we have 2-acre lots.
Uh,
They're not willing.
I noticed that, you know, one of the issues being brought up is a public health issue, and I just, I didn't know if our acting health officer had a.
It's not a public health. It's an individual health.
On the farm, I do everything on a much larger scale than anybody in Burlington has done, you know, so I'm looking at things, I've got a, you know, electric powered leaf blower, I love it. But I also mow 7 or 8 acres a week.
My neighbor has a gas-powered leaf blower, and it only lasts 5 minutes. I figure this is the cost of having a neighbor. You know, he doesn't complain about my Australian Shepherd barking at squirrels. Or even.
I mean, they're mostly commercial. The ones they're talking about are commercial leaf blowers, right? So.
Sounds like
Yeah,
it.
well, my neighbor is really, he's that kind of guy.
So were we
Good man.
discussing tabling this discussion then?
I think we should lean toward that.
I just feel I need to hear from the pros, you know, that are doing this for a living.
Well.
It's different, a pro doing it 8 hours a day versus someone who does 5 minutes a week.
So it sounds like we do have consensus that we're not gonna take further action on this. Okay. Okay.
Last thing I have, early voting is underway. I received my ballot from the state in the mail yesterday, so I think they're trickling into all registered active voters. Town Meeting TV, Bruce and I filmed a information video about the parking lot from the parking lot this afternoon. It didn't rain, so that was good. So they're working to get that put together, so we'll get that out to the community the next few days. I did some messaging the last couple weeks. I haven't fielded a lot of inquiries yet, but I think as people get their ballots, and the big thing is remind people to turn over their ballots because it's on the back with justice is of the peace. So that's out there and voting's underway. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Other business? Is there any other business? No
Nothing I have.
permits? Okay. Final thoughts on items from this meeting?
This isn't so much an item from this meeting, but I'm just looking at kind of the vacancies on our town boards and committees and so forth right now. Would really encourage people to apply and to volunteer. We rely so heavily on our committees and the many hours of volunteer work of people in our community. So I'd love to see that word spread a little farther and to get some people involved.
Yeah, we've got a pretty extensive list right now.
Yeah.
Some staff's gonna be doing some targeted outreach based on some of the different committees, but we've, yeah, it's hasn't been this big in a bit here. Get these filled.
I'm not very well aware of all, I know Williston has a lot of trails. I know there's a lot going on in Williston. The Allenbrook Nature Trail, that's something I guess I'm just gonna have to figure out, look on a map and go for a walk on it.
It's a well-used, it's a well-used trail though when the bridge is up.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, I mean, is it something that Mother Nature just says you're not gonna use this trail anymore? Or is it a swamp that we're trying to go through, or is it
Yeah.
a brook, you know what I mean?
It's the Allenbrook.
I think it's a combination of the Allenbrook flooding and beaver issues, right? I've seen there's a beaver dam near there. I don't know if that.
Yeah, I don't think the beavers as much as just the, I think last winter was a snow melt and some rain in January caused the new channel to open up under the bridge.
Yeah.
Just changing weather and different topography and drainage and what that
It is.
future looks like.
It is a popular trail, popular bridge.
And kids use it to connect to the neighborhoods, to
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, yeah,
And
So-
you said it's behind the school, so,
yeah.
Yep,
so I have to go to the school and park and go from there.
Go- Yeah.
yep.
Start looking around the Little League home run fence on the other side of the bike path, and you can't miss it.
You won't be able to cross it, but
This is the Allenbrook School, not the Williston.
No, Williston
Williston
Central
Central
School.
Williston Central.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel kind of, for some reason, it just,
no,
Yeah.
think about it,
that's,
think of it.
can't know everything.
Well, Terry probably knows everything, but you and I can't know everything, it's only our second year.
You can come down and take the bridge to nowhere, too.
Yeah.
That's right.
My Australian Shepherd actually did jump down into the water
mine's done that.
there a
Oh,
while ago.
many
and She couldn't get up on
Yeah,
her
couldn't get
own,
back to the bank.
so I had to go in, and she's not heavy, but it's not like I wanted to do it.
Yeah, it's an awkward angle.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? If not, then we are adjourned.
All right.
I just want, now my phones, laptops,